It has. That first match with attack against defense was certainly a highlight of the last 2 or 3 days for me.
And right now we've got an exciting match. We've got two players here, one who's more of a household name on the World Tour, JIANG Huajun on the close side of the table in red representing Hong Kong. There she is at 30 years old, is world rank number 34, 23rd seed in this tournament, and has had quite a road to get here. In the opening round of the main draw, had to play a Thai player, Tamulwan Ketkuan, and that was a 4-3 match. I believe that was one of 3, yes it was, where a Thai player was up 3-0, and then there was a massive comeback on the other side, 4 games in a row. There's Lee Ki-soon from Korea, our head umpire. The Thai players have had a good start in the main draw and had a rough finish, some exciting matches. JIANG Huajun then had a 4-2 victory over Ni Xiaolian, the #1 from Luxembourg. And there's Li Qing on screen, one of the most emotional players Hong Kong has ever seen and a legend of the sport. I believe is married to Tia Yana. They have a baby together now. Good thing it's together because they're married, you know what I'm saying? So JIANG Huajun beating Ni Xiaolian from Luxembourg, the long pip backhand player, the twiddling pen holder, in 4 games to 2. But the real surprise here, Hana MATELOVA from Czech Republic, world rank number 117. The 24-year-old has earned her way this far into the tournament after upsetting Sayaka Hirano 4 games to 3 yesterday. And I was able to catch some of that match. The defensive play, and by defensive play I mean lobbing and skyrocket shots super high from MATELOVA, were just incredible to watch. It's a very unusual style in a women's game. We don't see many players lobbing that much, but it can be quite effective, as we were talking about, as many women aren't quite as tall or used to the shoulder strength it takes to hit from over the head. So here we go in the best of 7. Heavy underspin to start it off for JIANG Huajun. First point her way. Slight adjustment made this time, clips the top of the net coming over, and then the backhand loop goes off. Little heavy underspin back from MATELOVA. She's another one who took down a Thai player from down 0-3, I believe. Good sign that the Thai players, though, are coming in and making it a tough match, definitely showing some improvement over the last few years. Smart placement, working the forehand and then the middle. Sometimes it's tough to tell from here if it clips the back edge or not. That one I thought might have, but by the reaction of the players and the umpires, clearly did not. So with the first towel break, no towels being used. JIANG Huajun leading 4 points to 2. And it's interesting, JIANG Huajun has the short pips on the backhand side, the red side of the racket. Still takes a spin shot with it from time to time. Good on the counter and the flat hit. And despite the change of pace after 2 fast blocks and then a little bit more of a bending brush block, MATELOVA able to hang in and take the point. Half-long serve to the middle, causing some trouble for MATELOVA. JIANG Huajun looks in shape out there. Seen her play in the past year steadily, and it seems like she's just a little bit fitter than before. Fast pace from the backhand to backhand battle, quite effective. As we talked about before with the short pips, you get a lot of forward speed, not quite as much spin, and she's using it effectively right now.
Definitely, and if MATELOVA's close to the table, that's when JIANG Huajun has to be very effective in changing pace as well.
It wouldn't surprise me if we see MATELOVA back off the table a bit as she did against Hirano. But then again, Hirano's game is quite different from JIANG Huajun, a bit more of a spinner. Did you hear that sound, that squeak? Very interesting reaction to a missed shot. It still seems, even though MATELOVA won the point, that she's just a step behind, trying to sort of keep up and get to the ball for the shots. One thing JIANG Huajun is quite familiar with is spin variation, playing right on top of the table, changing the pace of the ball as well. Has a very compact and efficient game. There she is, a bit off the table. No lobbing, just a spinny shot from a few steps behind on the forehand side. The game is getting tight, just a 2-point game. MATELOVA now has a chance to take these 2 serves and tie it up. Excellent inside-out forehand, waits patiently and sees JIANG Huajun committing to the forehand side, hits it behind her.
Yeah, MATELOVA getting used to this shot that seems to be coming from the backhand wing straight, so getting the racket ready.
Strong backhand from over the table, really tucked and just snapped through with the wrist. And here we are. I remember seeing 8-4 up there just a moment ago, and now it's 8-8. That backhand from MATELOVA, just brilliant. But JIANG Huajun read it well, forced a faster reaction shot out of MATELOVA. First point in a long time for JIANG Huajun. Tries to go inside out, misleading with the body to the forehand side and hit it behind her. It's a difficult shot. MATELOVA waiting patiently. Sometimes that hesitation from the opponent, the patience, can really screw up the plan of the attacker when they're expecting the person to commit one direction. Bit of side spin using the short pips, much like a defensive player would on a service receive, and now it's game point for Hana MATELOVA. Brilliant play right off the bounce, covering with the backhand, and what a turnaround in game 1. The underdog takes the first game. We'll be back to see if the performance can be kept up in game 2 just after this. And we're back for game 2, where MATELOVA is leading 1-0 over JIANG Huajun of Hong Kong. MATELOVA now has the serve. We were talking a little bit over the break about experience level. Gavin, you were saying about JIANG Huajun.
I think, obviously, for her, it was just the last few points just got away from her, but she definitely looked like the better player in that first set. She was the one that was looking to dictate most of the points.
And that being said, MATELOVA playing a very young and active game, and if she can keep up that performance, it's definitely going to be a challenge for the experienced JIANG Huajun. One thing about these more experienced players who are a little bit more up in their years, JIANG Huajun, 30, not too old for table tennis. Nisha Lien in her young 50s playing well. But as they age a little bit, they tend to depend more on the serve and receive game to really control the points early and not get into the long rallies that really test the stamina.
Well, what's been impressive so far is JIANG Huajun playing a slightly different game, playing a little bit more of a European game of mixing it up, mixing the spins, mixing the speed, and that's what I enjoy to watch. Just
like you said, the change of pace floats it back soft, barely coming off the back edge. with not a lot of spin, and MATELOVA had nothing to work with. The top of the net and out. And game one was similar. A quick lead early on from JIANG Huajun, and MATELOVA able to come all the way back to win it 11-9. And again, we talked about style matchup. We haven't seen the lobbing game. Sayaka Hirano, again, much more of a spinner, less of an off-the-bounce player like JIANG Huajun is. And when someone's willing to play from a step back, especially Hirano at her height, if you're looping and taking balls that are kicking right at the baseline, it's going to be very difficult to win points on that attacking game. MATELOVA, right idea, just seemed a little bit late to get in for that forehand flip over the table.
It's slightly wrong on the technique as well, coming into flick there where the racket was too open. A lot of the time you want to come into flick with a closed racket and then use the wrist.
Trying for a high-risk serve, going long off the table. The lead is extended even more. It's nice to see, though, even though she's missing that serve, that she's thinking creatively, that she's willing to mix it up. Sort of testing the waters, trying different strategies out there. Well adjusted, two balls came back slow and spinny. MATELOVA able to lift two heavy loops in a row to win the point. Is that frustration? Still a comfortable lead in game two. Comfortable is always a funny term to use at this level of play. And we do not see that a lot. Best points so far this match. JIANG Huajun looping from off the table with the forehand side and hooking some side spin. Way the ball kicked and then chopping with some side spin on the backhand. We're not going to see a lot of points with JIANG Huajun back off the table counter looping. Spinny opening backhand blocked, and then the inside out forehand is some trouble. That score is not accurate on screen. The score is 7-5 now. JIANG Huajun in the lead. That's 3 in a row for MATELOVA, was down 2-7. The spinny shot to the short side of the table again. MATELOVA, the resurrection. It's a nickname I'm giving her so far. If she comes back to win this game, I think it's going to stick. Very uncomfortable last ball. Excellent play from JIANG Huajun to hang in there for so many loops. MATELOVA's really upping her game, forehand and backhand side. Steady, deep on the table. Even moving in from out in front. Her agility, showing that she's able to really take a good shot while on the move, front and back. It's going to make her a tough match despite her world rank 117. Trying to play this short middle of the table, just overshooting against the heavy topspin from JIANG Huajun. Still, the game is not over, just down by 3 is where MATELOVA is.
It's important as well when someone goes for a slow spin up and you try and make the reloop that you touch round the edge of the ball to make sure that it's not going to shoot forwards.
Around the edge of the ball on top?
It depends. Depends what shot you're going to be playing.
And that was a bit of side spin on the receive from the backhand side at first, setting up that forehand, much like JIANG Huajun had done with the short pip side. MATELOVA showing some creativity in the middle of the point. Last time she had 2 serves to tie it up and make it 8-8 in game 1. She did it. Can she do it here? Little rush shot from out in front. Change of placement on the table. JIANG leaving it a little bit shorter on the spinny shot. Still low enough. And now it is 3 game points for the Hong Kong player, JIANG Huajun. Long serve goes too long, and game 2, 11-7 for JIANG Huajun to tie it up at 1 game apiece. Game 3 back just after this break. And we're back for game 3. JIANG Huajun with the serve at 1 game apiece. Love all. Well placed right off the bounce wide to the forehand side. If you're going to play an angular shot, getting it early definitely increases your chances. It looked like the Michael Mays blade there. Which is interesting, seeing how much Matelova was lobbing yesterday to Hirano. Coincidence? Maybe. That last backhand that we saw from Matelova, I thought for sure would finish the point. Short side of the table, really getting the wrist into it. But JIANG Huajun in mid-leap able to cover and bring it back to the middle. Great anticipation. Interesting strategies here, trying to work the corners. Now, of course, JIANG Huajun, if you can get her back off the table a bit, is going to have a little more trouble covering ground than Matelova. But again, she's pinned right at the back of the table. She knows this, wants less ground to cover, less reaction time for her opponent.
I feel as well, though, that JIANG Huajun, it's important that she stays in very, very close, and that Matelova plays extremely close or very far away, not in no man's land at 3 or 4 meters back. That's giving the Hong Kong player too much time.
And we haven't seen many points from Matelova very far off the table so far. It seems like she feels the same way, that she's trying to stay in when driven off the table, keeping her shots in looping form deep on the table, trying to work her way back in. And that seems more like the no man's land you were talking about. JIANG Huajun dictating the point and driving Matelova off and back. More and more ground to cover side to side as she backs off the table.
Back again to the new equipment, the new ball. It's difficult to get the purchase, the arc on the ball from a few meters back as well, that you could do before.
Yep, that's right. Definitely a little less spinny, a little slower, takes more strength from the player. The service game very strong from JIANG Huajun. It's a similar mindset that Matelova had, but it seems like the serves are a little bit more consistent. Matelova had a few service errors in the last game. JIANG Huajun jamming it into the body with the fast, long pendulum serve. Matelova was caught with no decision made on that, just trying to get out of the way of the ball. Despite JIANG Huajun winning that point, I'm actually becoming a bigger and bigger fan of Matelova the more I watch her play. Much like Britt Ehrlin last year, watching her play, I gained a lot of respect for her game. Was really impressed despite her world ranking coming into it. How well trained she was, how strong her forehand and backhand. Same out here with Matelova, really moving well, taking her shots well. An impressive recovery off the top of the net. That ball stays low, has to be read perfectly from JIANG Huajun to keep it low and on the table. Watch this, covers flat, just like there was nothing that happened wrong in the rally. Decent shot for a regular ball. Over the table flip, JIANG Huajun quick to get in for it. Because she stays so close to the back of the table anyway, she's a little bit closer for the over the table shots. One advantage of staying close. Now a 5-point lead for the Hong Kong player. And this game has felt like it's all JIANG Huajun. I guess the scoreboard would suggest the same. Matelova having trouble being driven back off the table with the wide backhand shots, mostly on the run. Now 6 game points against MATELOVA for JIANG Huajun. Beautiful wide angle exits the side of the table. JIANG Huajun, no chance to reach that. I'm impressed that MATELOVA was able to get that far in the rally after a few of the shots. That backhand right there, even in slow-mo, left a trail on the screen. In high def, it looked like there was special effects flames behind the ball. Recovery shot off the top of the net. MATELOVA's quick to get there, take advantage of a little bit of height on that. Could she become the resurrection? Down 4 more game points. And JIANG Huajun, the serving master, now in control. Hanging in tight, MATELOVA anticipating, moving, blocking it deep on the table. Still feels like JIANG Huajun should be able to do something better with that third attack that she took. Gavin, what are you seeing out here?
Definitely going to close it out. This is a big point here, though. You don't really want to get it to 8-10, where you're having to receive 2 serves. Be keen to win it right now.
Excellent backhand, really goes for the risky shot, tucks back, puts the power on, and plays it out to the open forehand court. The third towel break, it's now just a 2-point game. That's 4 in a row for Czech Republic's Hana MATELOVA. And now she's in control with the serves. If she takes these 2, we'll see if she plays a little safer than earlier. Smart placement again, misleads with the shoulders, gets JIANG Huajun stepping around to the backhand corner, a little over that direction, and then plays it right down the line. 1-point game. And there it is. We saw our first lob this point, and what a comeback. 6 points in a row. The game is not over, but it is definitely much more interesting at this point. Even the drop shot to the forehand side and then the backhand rip down the line has been bread and butter in the late part of this game for MATELOVA. Wow, Gavin. Hana MATELOVA, Czech Republic. This could be the breakout performance of her career. Still early in the match, though. JIANG Huajun with the serve. Just missing wide. A little bit of side spin on that receive off the short pips caused the ball to carry. MATELOVA not adjusting to that side spin. Without the side spin from JIANG Huajun, that ball would have been a winner. Now game point again for JIANG Huajun. MATELOVA with the serve. Blocked well, kicking deep on the table, and JIANG Huajun quick to get over to the coach in the corner and get herself prepared for game 4. It's a 2-1 lead for the Hong Kong player. Game 4 just after this. And we're back for game 4. MATELOVA down 1-2, starting with the serve. And that's more forehand attacks than we've seen probably the whole match in any single point from JIANG Huajun. Different direction than she had at the end of the game. After being up 10-4 and barely pulling it out 12-10, it seems like some changes were necessary. We haven't seen much of that serve either. A short serve to the forehand in the reverse pendulum style from MATELOVA. We were talking about her depth from the table. Gavin, you were talking about her staying a little bit closer to mix it up.
Definitely important. Shots are going to be far more potent close into the table. As you said, she does have a lot of power. If you can use that power a little bit closer in, channel that into the certain areas of the table, then you're going to definitely have the rewards.
And you hate to criticize someone's consistency after winning 6 points in a row from down 10-4. It just seemed unfortunate that game point she missed the backhand loop. Able to hang in there for one more shot until the backhand play of JIANG Huajun comes in. JIANG Huajun really using that forehand attack very generously, giving almost every shot she can to the forehand side, willing to step around right now. And it seems like that must have been part of the conversation with the coach. I mean, it does not seem like a coincidence that she's stepping around and taking that forehand over and over. Again, she's leading 2 games to 1, so even though the last one was a close call, strategy has been working on some level. It's an unusual shot selection on such a low serve short to the forehand. Seemed like she was trying to go for a long push there, loaded with spin, maybe force a rushed shot from MATELOVA.
But it's a definite tactic from MATELOVA so far. Serving back short into the forehand, starting the rally from there.
I think that's going to be a smart strategy in general against a player who's so used to using both sides and now sort of conditioning herself to get the forehand into play and step around. Might make her a little bit hesitant or slower to get in for that short forehand receive. That's a break for MATELOVA. The ball comes up a little bit high, a little bit short. And JIANG Huajun, a little slow to get in, covers, hits the top of the net and goes out. And look at this, 6 points to 2, leading in game 4. Heavy underspin to the forehand side. The equipment check is never a great sign. Psychologically, you don't want to be worrying about your equipment. Wider and wider cross court. MATELOVA's shown us she can do it. As the rally gets longer, she gets more comfortable playing it wider. Saw that a few times last game. That is a lucky break. I love the look on your face, Gavin. Your eyes as big as I've ever seen them. That point could have been wrapped with a bow and a card from JIANG Huajun. Left up high, but sometimes it's the big juicy ones that look easy that are just completely jarring to the system. You get in a rhythm, suddenly that breaks it.
That's not a bad little play there, trying to open up off the serves. When you do create a 4 or 5 point lead, it's important then to try and be aggressive, proactive on receive of serve. Try and pick up the odd point and you'll get to 11 quickly.
It's only human mentally. We saw an eyebrow raise there from MATELOVA, probably remembering that high ball. It would have been 9-3, suddenly became 8-4, and now 8-5. You don't want that high ball to haunt you in the middle of the night. But that's the psychological training these players have to move on, prepare for the next point. Several in a row from JIANG Huajun, and the timeout is called. I have to imagine that's MATELOVA.
Yeah, MATELOVA signaled straight over to her coach that she wanted the timeout. So a lot of the time you'll see the coach calling the timeout, not in this case.
And that's good. I mean, it usually is the coach, but if a player knows that the timeout is necessary, waiting for it and thinking about it while trying to play the match is the last thing you want to do. Get what you need, get prepared. And this is, well, in the dating world, I think a lot of people say, I'm going to wait for him to make the move. And it's like, well, what do you want? You want to end up with this person or not? Go for it. And I feel the same way about the player and the coach. If you need a timeout, go ahead and ask. Be the initiator when it's necessary. Didn't think I was going to go there in the table tennis match, did you, Gavin?
Not at all.
Little surprise element of deception here in the commentary booth. So now JIANG Huajun with the serve out of the timeout from MATELOVA. We haven't seen a lot. The forehand flip, as you commented on before, Gavin, was a little bit problematic for MATELOVA. And the first point back from the timeout against the person who called it. JIANG Huajun now 1 point away from tying it up. And the backhand deep on the table. We can see the deep breaths from MATELOVA, the stress. She was way up 8-3, and now 5 in a row for JIANG Huajun. And a good look at that ball. Nothing is landing right now. MATELOVA had an opportunity there, even played it a little bit more safely. Instead of the short middle of the table, went deep to the backhand. Might have even been 8-2.
Yellow card there for the Czech coach.
Trying to signal to his player. What's okay? Not quite sure what's okay or what was not okay. Very unusual block. Racket head straight up over the handle from JIANG Huajun. And now 2 game points. What a turn of events in game 4. Deceptive serve to the middle, and the backhand was trouble for MATELOVA. 11-8, JIANG Huajun turning it around completely for a 3-1 lead. We'll see if MATELOVA can come back from that devastating turnaround in game 5 just after this break. So the players are back at the table already for game 5. Gavin, you just said you wouldn't be back at the table that quickly after losing the set.
You need to try and think a little bit more. You need to use that full minute for sure. And then when you come back, towel down as well. Try and take nearer 2 minutes to try and think about what you need to do to get back into the match.
Especially after having a timeout and then a yellow card for a coach trying to squeeze in some more information. You would think there's a lot to be said in that corner. Sometimes the power of the words, it's not how many words, it could just be something like believe. It seems unlikely, but that could be the message. One strong, important message that could really change the outcome of this match. We've had service errors from both sides. 2 of the first 3 points have been to service errors. The backhand seeming a bit less consistent than it did early on in this match. Up until about 8-3 or so of the last game, the backhand had been quite effective. And now she's playing a passive blocking game. MATELOVA seems a bit rattled by the results. It could have been the memory of the end of last game, losing that huge lead. And again, that high ball, the one that's going to come back and get you in the sleep. There we go. Much more free-flowing backhand, really snapping through. It's like you said, your coach, who's now coaching for Singapore, Jia, says don't take it at 80% when you get uncomfortable. Go harder, go big. Continue with the attack game. And
Definitely.
There it is.
Well, as soon as there's a little bit of tension involved, your arm slows down, you don't use the wrist as much, so you're not getting as much contact on the ball. So it's exactly right what he says about trying to be a little bit more proactive.
Fast serve deep into the backhand corner. If that's how you're going to do a fast serve, that's the way it's got to be done. Right at the baseline. Element of surprise, fast. Deep on the table, the hooking forehand. We've seen it from off the table. MATELOVA very comfortable way back there. In this game, she hasn't done the lobbing much. In her big comeback in game 3, she managed to do a point there. I think it was maybe to deuce it up. Now MATELOVA leading against JIANG Huajun's serve. And even though she missed that shot, it's nice to see that she went for it. I think that's a much better choice than the softer shot. Also, from a muscle memory standpoint, when you're going hard, you're swinging fast, there's not as much time to change things up. It's just sort of your habit, what you're used to, free-flowing. Very spinny shot from JIANG Huajun. This is something watching her play throughout the year that I just remembered. She gets so much racket speed with the head of that racket on the forehand spin shot when it's down low. Makes her quite threatening, even though she's not an all-out attacker, or at least looper. Change of pace, slows it up a little bit, changing the arc on the ball after some fast shots from the backhand corner. And now it's turned around. 3 points in a row for JIANG Huajun. So no timeouts left for MATELOVA. Barely nicking the back edge of the table. And that was a great spin shot. JIANG Huajun again using that low spinny forehand from below the table to keep the pressure on. Bit of a break, and now it's a 1-point game. Seriously though, the muscle definition, JIANG Huajun looks like a completely different player than months ago. As she pulled up her sleeve before, we saw the veins in the arm. Looked like she was ready for some arm wrestling. And after 3 points in a row, it's 2 in a row for MATELOVA to tie it back up. That looked like it went down side of the table.
That was definitely down. I think at the moment, the umpire's given it the opposite way, which is the wrong call.
On the scoreboard, JIANG Huajun. All right, the scoreboard seems to have it right, though. Point for point. Gavin, if you're MATELOVA right now, what serve are you doing to earn your full-on attack to sort of shut down the fast pace from JIANG Huajun?
All depends at the moment what wing she wants to open up with. And that'll dependent then on where she wants to serve.
And another break off the top of the net. And this is the first time we've seen that forehand flip really work out for MATELOVA. She's tried a few times to not much success. And still on the receive game, quick to get in. After this point, she's going to have 2 serves. Short to the forehand has been pretty effective. Soft receive, and JIANG Huajun looked troubled to make a decision on that, coming around the outside of the ball for what could have been a long push, and now MATELOVA has the game point and 2 of them. A bit too passive on that forehand over the table. Again, JIANG Huajun a little bit more comfortable with that change of pace play. MATELOVA seems quite effective when she really goes for her shots. If it's a touch shot near the net, that's different, but when she's attacking, if she gets too passive, it becomes more of a blocking game. It hasn't worked out in her favor. And after 2 spin shots right to the middle, JIANG Huajun covers comfortably with the backhand, forcing an error shot. And now it's deuce in game 5.
The full match, it's been about who can try and close out each set.
That's right. We've had MATELOVA coming pretty close, having a lot of trouble. There have been massive comebacks from both sides. Even in game 1, it was JIANG Huajun who had the lead. Recovery off the back of the table, a little bit of edge there. MATELOVA staying tough, staying with it to win the point. Earns herself her 2nd game point, 3rd? She have 10-8? 3rd game point. And she's trying to redefine the middle. What looks like the middle is still part of the backhand for JIANG Huajun. She's covered it so comfortably that MATELOVA tried to make the adjustment that seemed necessary, playing it to the short side of the table, but the net got in the way.
Well, both players have been really good at being able to caress the ball back as a timeout's called.
So now JIANG Huajun's going to be talking to Coach Li Qing in the corner. You know, she started off the last 2 games, I guess, playing a lot more forehand attack. Her long serves into the backhand were quite effective when she used them. We still haven't seen that many. I feel like some people really like to save serves for crucial situations. Personally, I don't know, maybe it's because it's not the professional level, but if I have a serve that's working, whenever I need a point, I'm gonna pull it out and hopefully have a few tricks up my sleeve so that if suddenly a serve stops working, I'll pull out another one that's more of a surprise serve.
Yeah, it's nice to have 10 to 20 serves in your repertoire. And then hold 1 or 2 back possibly till deuce. But you still want to use them once or twice before it gets there as well, so that you do have the hand feeling for that.
Right, and hopefully you don't even have to have the deuce situation if you've used it to get a few free points. Fast and long to the backhand, short to the forehand. We'll see what comes up next. Heavy underspin to the middle. A surprise serve for an outright point. Maybe that was one of the ones she saves in the bag. And now it's match point for JIANG Huajun. Huge counter forehand, reading the spin perfectly and playing it wide. The safe shot cross court to tie it back up.
It was the safe shot. She actually did manage to get round the side of the ball that time as well to take the pace out of it, gain more control.
MATELOVA trying to rush back into the table to really create some pressure for JIANG Huajun. For a second, it looked like the hand motion was MATELOVA trying to call a timeout. I wondered if she'd forgotten that her timeout was gone, but apparently that was just her sort of re-gripping the racket with both hands. Heavy underspin short to the forehand. What are you thinking, Gavin?
Both players are rushing in too early, quite anxious. If you come in and take the ball right off the bounce, the chances are that the ball will go in the bottom of the net.
Heavy spin shot falls short, and now MATELOVA has another game point. MATELOVA has been the queen of epic battles so far in the main draw. 2 4-gamer, 7 gamers to get here. And the punch backhand, the flat hitting shot off the short pips, ties it back up at 14 all. The timing on the backhand seems to be a bit of an issue. If there's a little bit more time for MATELOVA, she sets up and can really tuck away. But it's that in-between shot where it's a little bit faster, sometimes out in front a bit. Spin shot goes long, another opportunity for MATELOVA. JIANG Huajun getting a bit anxious, it looks like, trying to create some shots, overdoing it, a little ambitious on her attempts. This time the middle is actually more toward the middle and less toward the forehand side, and it works out 16-14 for Hana MATELOVA of Czech Republic. And JIANG Huajun still in the lead, 3-2. We'll be back for game 6 just after this. And we're back for game 6. MATELOVA fighting the fight, 16-14 in the 5th. And a quick start for JIANG Huajun against serve to take the first point. And you remember there was a whole game where that backhand down the line was so effective. We haven't seen it. You have to wonder if it's because she forgot about it or more so because JIANG Huajun hasn't and will not allow it to happen. Just overdoing it from down low, but that's the defensive play we saw from MATELOVA against Sayaka Hirano yesterday. I actually wanted to see more of it for selfish reasons. I just love watching those points. But of course, for MATELOVA, she's going to do whatever possible to try and win this match. And it seems like it'd be more effective to be on the attack. A little bit of break off the top of the net to change the pace. Bothers MATELOVA, understandably. It's a second fast, long serve into the backhand. We've seen the point before really caught MATELOVA off balance. Miss hit from JIANG Huajun, comfortable blocking for MATELOVA. Still not where she wants to be. The blocking game has been trouble for her since early in this match.
It's a little bit better. Staying in close, using the spin JIANG Huajun had on the ball.
And the first towel break is a very quick one, just a quick wipe of the forehead, no sweat coming into the eyes. From a confidence standpoint, you have to wonder how the mental toughness is of MATELOVA. Winning 2 7-gamers at this stage in the tournament shows quite impressive mental strength, really. And from here, it almost looked like that hit the net and came over, but I'm guessing it hit the wrong side of the table first on a miss hit. Point to MATELOVA. Dances on the top of the net, almost stays there for a minute as if you could have blown it off the net from MATELOVA's side. Drops back onto JIANG Huajun. Was that deceptive topspin? Definitely seemed to fool JIANG Huajun, kicking up into the edge of the blade. Forehand flick. The last 2 have worked out for her. Missed the first 2, and that one was the most beautiful and just compact one yet. Crisp, out wide to the forehand side. Now, it's too tough to tell. Could say it's looking like it's going to go 7, but we saw bigger leads before for MATELOVA. Almost getting into the lobbing game. Fish shot goes a little bit long. I've heard stories about Li Qing in his heyday, about the emotion he displayed, so it's quite interesting seeing him in a restricted position as a coach, sitting in that chair quietly. Break off the top of the net. MATELOVA's gonna have to not let that bother her. Next point here from a 4-point lead down to a 2-point lead, but she has 2 serves. She started pulling in the reverse pendulum serve, and even that last serve she gave with underspin to the middle looked like she was gonna do reverse pendulum until the last moment. And there it is. She tries to play the short backhand side of the table. It seems effective. JIANG Huajun just waiting for it. Counters out to the open court right off the bounce. Clever adjustments from JIANG Huajun.
This is what you were saying again, Adam, at 7-3, that there's no guarantees out there, and look at it now.
JIANG Huajun has really turned it on.